Imagine you're standing in the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean, with nothing around you but a deep blue stretching all the way to the horizon. And then, out of that seemingly endless emptiness, a strip of land appears like a miracle. Dark green mountains crowned with clouds, glossy black cliffs shaped by ancient lava, beaches glowing gold under the sun, and a breeze carrying the scent of sea salt mixed with warm tropical flowers. Hawaii is not just a travel destination. It feels like a story the ocean has been telling for millions of years through fire, through waves, and through time. Hawaii is often called a tropical paradise, but if you stop at the word paradise, you'll miss the most important truth. This paradise was born from volcanoes. The gentle beauty you see today actually began with the fury deep inside the earth. Somewhere beneath the cold waters of the Pacific, a geothermal hotspot works silently, pushing magma upward, layer by layer, until rock rises above the surface and becomes an island. What overwhelms people in Hawaii is the feeling that the island is alive. You don't just see the scenery, you sense a land that is still being written. And because it was born from fire, Hawaii carries colors unlike any other tropical place. Some beaches aren't golden at all, but black as coal, shining in the sunlight like volcanic dust scattered across the shore. Some cliffs rise steep and raw, bearing the marks of lava that once flowed like rivers. And there are valleys so lush that, from above, they look like deep cuts in the body of a mountain, places patiently carved day after day by rain and wind. This is a land where beautiful isn't only soft. Beautiful is also wild, powerful, and sometimes slightly frightening. If you're beginning the journey, many people think first of Oahu, because it has lively Honolulu, famous Waikiki Beach, and a modern rhythm that's easy to access. But even in the busiest places, Hawaii knows how to pull you away from the noise. Leave the streets for just half an hour, and you'll find coastal roads opening into a different world. Forested mountains on one side, brilliant blue sea on the other, and curves ahead that make you feel as if you're driving along the very edge of the ocean. In Hawaii, nature doesn't stand still as a backdrop. It steps into every moment, as if reminding you the islands don't belong to people are only visiting. Then you'll understand why people say Hawaii can change seasons in a single day. On the same island, there are places where the sun pours down like honey, places where rain falls like mist, places where cool wind sweeps across mountain slopes and makes you reach for a jacket, and places so warm that bare feet on sand feel like a simple kind of joy. High mountain ranges catch the clouds, creating a sharp contrast between a lush, wet side and a drier side with harsher sun. Moving through Hawaii can feel like traveling through several small worlds, each with its own light, color, and breath. When people speak of Hawaii, they often remember Maui, its breathtaking coastal roads, its orange-red sunsets spilling onto calm water, its beaches where thin layers of waves roll in like whispers. Maui has a romance that feels natural, the kind that needs no staging. On some early mornings, with the sky still pale, you can look out at sea and see a distant whale sending up a thin white plume of mist, like a soft dot on a blue page. On some afternoons, wind moves through rows of palms, making a rustling sound that if you close your eyes can make time feel slower than usual. But if you want to meet the heart of fire in the archipelago, you have to think of Hawaii Island, often called the Big Island. Here you can stand before vast fields of lava, black, rough, endless, like the ground of another planet. You can see layers of rock formed by burning flows, frozen in place at some historical instant. And you'll understand something strange. Some places make us feel small, because they're tall or wide, but because they make us feel we're standing before a force older than any human story. When a volcano erupts, it isn't only a spectacle, it's a reminder that this planet is still moving, still renewing itself, and we are simply lucky witnesses. And yet Hawaii is not only fire, it is also water, so much water. Rain here is not simply rain. Some showers are light as dust, settling on leaves and turning them glossy like thin mirrors. Some downpours arrive suddenly and vanish just as fast, leaving behind the scent of wet earth and rising greenery. The rainfall, along with the island's isolation in the ocean, has turned Hawaii into a biological treasure. Many plants and birds here evolve in their own ways, as if they were versions that exist only on these islands. That's why walking through a Hawaiian forest can feel like stepping into a living museum where everything is delicate and everything needs protection. There's something everyone who comes to Hawaii soon realizes. Whether they came for the sea, the mountains, or the perfect photos, the spirit of this place lives in its culture. Hawaii has a special word, aloha. People often translate aloha as hello or goodbye, but that's far too small. Aloha is also a way of living gentle, respectful, a reminder that you're entering a land with a soul. Here, the bond between people and nature isn't a slogan. It lives in the way stories are told about the sea, the mountains, the wind. It lives in hula, which is not only dance, but a language of memory. It lives in the sound of the ukulele, bright and cheerful, yet faintly bittersweet, like small waves tapping the shore. And in Hawaii, you may encounter a feeling that has become rare in the modern world. The feeling of being fully the moment. Perhaps it's because island life often moves slower. Perhaps because nature here is too strong to ignore. Or perhaps because the ocean makes everything feel humble. You sit and watch the sea, and suddenly realize you don't need to do anything at all. No constant checking, no chasing something invisible, just listening to the wind, listening to the waves, watching sunlight shift across the water enough. Some places force us to think. Hawaii has a way of forcing us to feel. But every paradise has its shadow. Hawaii is so beautiful that sometimes it's wounded by its own beauty. Heavy tourism brings pressure on the environment, on water resources, on marine ecosystems, on beaches and coral reefs. Some places that were once truly wild now need fences, warning signs, and limits on visitor numbers, not to inconvenience anyone, but to save the place from being worn away. And that is an important lesson. The more we call somewhere a paradise, the more carefully we must learn to step. Paradise does not last by itself if people treat it like a product. That's why the most beautiful trip to Hawaii isn't a trip to check in everywhere, but a trip to listen. Listen to the story of fire beneath the ground. Listen to the story of waves on the sea. Listen to the story of wind in the forest. And listen to the story of the people who have lived with these forces for generations. When you look at a beach, don't only look at the color of the water. Look at the curve of the shoreline, the way waves break, the way wind moves, the way sunlight lands. When you stand before a mountain range, don't only look at its height. Imagine how many rains it has endured, how many seasons of wind, how many small tremors in the earth. There is a moment many people remember forever when they leave Hawaii. It might be standing high above, looking down on layers upon layers of green and seeing clouds drift at eye level. It might be the first time they dive and watch a sea turtle glide past, calm as an ancient guest of the ocean. It might be walking along the shore near evening and seeing the sun touch the horizon like a slow burning sphere sinking into the sea. These moments are hard to capture fully in a photograph, because what makes them unforgettable isn't the image, it's the feeling. The feeling that you've touched something wider than daily life, wider than schedules, wider even than yourself. And perhaps that is the deepest reason people love Hawaii, not only because it's beautiful, but because it reminds us of something we forget in modern life. Humans were once part of nature, not outsiders looking in. When you leave these islands, you carry sand on your shoes, salt on your skin, and a longing that's hard to name. A longing for a place where fire and water coexist, where nature is both gentle and fierce, where culture is not something displayed, but something that breathes. Hawaii is a paradise in the middle of the Pacific, but more than that, it is a reminder that the world still holds places capable of silencing us, that true beauty is not only meant to be seen, but to be respected, and that sometimes, the most precious thing about a journey is not what we gain, but how we return slower by a little, lighter by a little, and more grateful by a little, for having once stood in the middle of the ocean and listened to a land tell its story with the beat of its own heart.